Hi, in this video, it's time to put our code into a Git repository. In this video, we're going to set up a new repository with our source code, mostly from the command line. If you're already used to using Git, this will be a bit of a review. In the next Git video, we'll go over the development process, and then we'll connect this all together to automatically add Git versioning inside our microservice. But we have to set up things first. Now, best practice is to get all of this in place early in the development process. Now, we're using GitHub because it's the one everyone's familiar with, but feel free to use any other Git repository such as GitLab or Bitbucket. This tutorial also assumes you already have Git installed on your machine. Git is a version control system that tracks different versions of our source code. Every time we make a change and save it to Git, a new version of our code is stored. Not only can we get the most recent version of our code, we can also reference previous versions. This will be important for when we need to know what version of our code produced the microservice in production. Right now, we just need to move our code into Git. Here's what we're going to do. We'll create a repository on GitHub, initialize a repository on our machine, set up the ignore and readme file, and then check our code into GitHub. Now don't worry if that didn't quite all make sense. We're going to cover each step in detail. Let's get started. Our first step is to go to github.com. Click on the repositories tab and click on the new button. You can also click on the plus in the upper right corner and select new repository. This will take us to a page that looks like this. We'll want to give the repository a name. The description's a good idea, especially if we have many repositories. We do have the choice of making it public or private. If we're considering making it private, I'd recommend using GitLab. They have free private repositories. Since we're going to bring in an existing repo, skip adding readme. We'll add that later. We'll skip the git ignore and license for the same reasons. Once we're done, we'll hit create repository. We now have a repository in GitHub. So let's go back to our machine and connect it with our code. We need to initialize a Git repository on our machine. We'll navigate our code directory and enter the following Git commands. First, we want to do a git init. This initializes our code directory as a Git directory. What this does is creates a directory inside our code directory with all the information it needs to track our changes. Next, we want to link our repository to the one on GitHub. We'll do that with the command git remote add origin with the URL. This tells Git that there is a remote version of our code, and the URL tells Git where it is. Once we're done, we can verify the remote is added with the command git remote-v. This will list all the remote repositories linked to our repository. Now, before we check in files, we want to let Git know which files are important. We do this by telling Git to ignore some files by adding a .gitignore. The file just lists the files and the file expressions to ignore. So we'll create a file, then add the following to it. Anything between hash marks or comments. For now, we'll just make sure nothing is compiled that's added. Next, we want to create the README. The file is named readme.md. The MD stands for Markdown, and you can find many resources on formatting the document using the Markdown online. And finally, we'll add the code to our remote repository in GitHub. We'll add it with the command git add period. That adds everything. Then we'll commit it with the following command, git commit-m first commit. This command commits our changes to a local repository and adds a message about what we changed. Usually you'll want to include more information, but since this is the first commit, we'll just say that. Finally, we want to push our changes into GitHub. We'll do that with the command git push origin master. And our code should be in GitHub. We can refresh the repository and we should see our code. So that's how we get our code into GitHub. GitHub is free as long as your repository is open source and public. If you need a private repository, you can pay GitHub for private repositories. If you don't want to pay, Bitbucket is free for academics and GitLab allows free private repositories. That might be the best option if you're an indie and not an academic. In the next tutorial, we'll want to go over how we track changes in our code. So thanks for watching the video. You can find the source code and the complete transcripts on dgu.com. Next, we'll take a look at the development process in Git. If you like what you're seeing or have any questions, let me know in the comments or on dgu.com, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.